Hey, Jeremy Tall Trainer here, and I just went on the news talking about training the core, and there was a few things, and I never get a chance to say everything I'd like to say about it. So we reviewed how the slouching makes the stomach stick out, rolling the shoulders back, creating that space in here will help you train help you work the core better. It starts waking up the core, and if you hold this position while you're doing other exercises, every exercise can become an abdominal exercise. All right, and so we talked about this drawing in exercise. All right, and Dan lost it a little bit on that one. All right, but so you're on all fours here, pulling the lower abdominals in, and you're trying to do this without arching the back. All right, so I'm drawing in without curling the back as I'm doing that. So you really start feeling this pulling, and actually, this position, your organs are kind of the weight for the exercise. It's not much weight really. All right, it's not like the intensity of like lifting your legs to do something or curling or those kind of things. But the reason why you need it this way is a lot of times when the effort gets too great. So if I took this, if I went straight, most people go straight to a plank. If I hit that plank thing, a lot of times right there, it's already so much force that you actually can't train those deeper abdominals anymore. All right, it's gone past your ability to control it, and it'll end up going in your hip flexors and your lower back. A couple exercises that are really common for that is the plank, where you'll see somebody's tailbone start to stick up. That means the hip flexors, lower back are doing too much of the work. The abs have already checked out. It's already gone beyond what they can do. The other one, classic sports move, is that like they do a 6-inch hold. It drives me nuts a lot of times because you look around, they do it terrible. But the kids are all laying here, and they lift their legs up 6 inches off the ground. What you'll see most of the time is, it actually hurts me to demonstrate too much though, but is the back will be arched. I'm not gonna lift all the way just because I don't want to kink my back. All right, so when the leg is up, the back has got a big arch underneath it, and the hip flexors, the lower back are doing most of the holding because the abs are already expended. They don't have the strength to do that. So what you can do is you narrow it a little bit so you actually can do that. So one of the big keys to really effective core training is making sure you don't overshoot the ability of your abdominals. So otherwise, it's going to ricochet and go somewhere else. All right. So when you're doing a plank, be humble enough to do the plank from your knees. So do it correctly to get the pull-in feeling. All right. I went to a conference one time. I'll tell this story here. And the instructor needed a volunteer to get things going. And I usually volunteer fairly quickly because I like to get things going. I like to learn the point, and I feel like I can learn it better when you get called on. So I raised my hand, got called on. He said, come up here and do a plank. And so I came up and I held a plank. And I've been at conferences before, so I figured this guy's going to talk for like 10 minutes about this plank. So I was just kind of holding, kind of resting, but I made sure it was lined up good because I knew he was going to talk about alignment. So I made sure I was all lined up good, and it was a good lined up plank that I had. All right, but then he came over to me and he poked me in the butt. And then he said, "That's applesauce. Give me apples." All right, and so then I flexed my butt. It added more tension to the plank because now that's going to cost more energy. It's going to be harder for me to hold that. I'm not going to be able to hold it as long. So now I tensed it up. He's like, okay, good. And then I'll go back to applesauce, go back to apples. And he just had a little fun with it just because it's supposed to be entertaining a little bit too. Sarah, my wife, was in the front row there laughing her butt off the whole time. But he made a very good point. He made a very good point about that. And a very good reminder of apples, not applesauce. All right, is when you're doing a plank, be active with it. You're not trying to use the least amount of strength possible. You're trying to use more. The goal of this is the training and is the work that you're doing, not just trying to check off a box, see how long you can hold it. If you just try going longer and longer with your plank duration, you're probably going to get a worse and worse plank. So here's a couple tips on doing a better plank. All right, so one, make sure everything's lined up. All right, so make sure your head's not dropping in, your shoulders aren't rounding up too much, your hips aren't popped up in the air, and your tailbone's not tucked up in the air. All right, so tail's tucked between the legs a little bit, chest is out, head is back, and when you create that kind of position, it starts to already create a lot more work in the abs. Now, if I tense my butt a little bit, that's another level. If I push my hands into the ground a little bit, that's another level that will make it more difficult. If I bend my knees slightly, so the tendency is to lock out the legs, and then it really kinks the back. If I bend my knees slightly, now I'm going to target it into those deeper abdominal muscles that much more. So knees bent, everything's lined up, pressing into the ground, butt flexing, You start doing a plank like that, you're not gonna be able to hold it for very long, but it's gonna be incredible practice because the goal of your core training should be to make this posture position, whether kneeling or standing, this posture position, make this posture position stronger and better, all right? So for functionality's sake. Now, side effect, if you're really doing a good job with that, the stomach gets flatter too, all right? When you get this great position, you can actually draw and pull, brace, and it actually flattens out a bit as well. So, woohoo, winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right, so that's it, that's the basics right here. Now, once you get a plank going, it's pretty hard. There are variations on the plank that you can do that add some more fun to it. So I could just take as simply as just adding some sliders to this plank. And so now, if I'm piking up and I'm pushing into the ground, I'm gonna know because I'm gonna slide away. So now I've got to try to really put that force down in the ground, lock it in, and you can even do more by putting sliders underneath your feet also while you're doing this. So now you gotta go, now you gotta lock up that much more. Oh, it's horrible. But again, make sure you're not getting out of position. The chest is still out, the head is still back. As soon as you open up posture like this, the abs have to work more. The abs have to work more. When you are rolled like this, they get to take a vacation. All right, so you're like, the point is not to work my shoulders, the point is to work my core. So I need to open up and get the abs to do some of that work. Now, you can also, add some movement in. So if I hold this plank, I can do a little side to side. I can do some floor scrubs with this. I can do it with, just feet on the ground, just from knees. I can do it with feet up on a stability ball. You start getting pretty nuts on some of this stuff. All right, so I get feet up on a stability ball, and I'm doing a floor scrub. And their main goal is the hand that's not moving, that it remains not moving. And I'm really bracing through there to do that work. As soon as I start adding a one-sided element to the exercise, there's a rotational force. So if I just take a simple plank, I'll do it facing you here, do a simple plank, but I widen the legs, and I just lift 1 foot an inch off the ground. You go, oh! As soon as you do that, that foot goes 1 inch off the ground, the body wants to turn, and you've got to not let it turn, which is the core and the oblique muscle. So not just the rectus abdominis, now the obliques are coming in really big. So that's a great variation too, is just the wider the feet are, the harder that is too, by the way. So if I go really wide and lift off, it goes, oh, it's really hard. My body wants to drop that hip to make it easier, but if I keep it up, it's super hard to do. All right, so you can do things where you actually move the leg while you're doing some of this. You can do it up on the hands and bring the knee towards the opposite arm. All that stuff is great to add on some extra challenge, into that. So, but again, you've got to have the foundational core then first, and then you can layer that stuff on, and it's awesome. All right, some really killer. All right, so you want to, the final bit was some really killer core exercises. If I hit the plank on sliders, and I slide out and back with both, that is super difficult. If I take feet onto the sliders here, it's probably even better on hands there, and I do some slide-ins here, and pike up a bit as I'm doing that, I can really engage that core. But again, it's got to be bracing here. It can't be a pike up where that tailbone's sticking out either. All right, some of the same stuff can be done on a stability ball where I go elbows on, I roll it out and back, I can stir the pot right in here. Those are pretty awesome exercises. One of my favorites for the deep core is the classic stability ball crunch. Right here, you're lay back, keep the knees bent 90 degrees, looking up the ceiling, and you're curling in right in there. Lower abdominals pulled in really well while you're doing it. And you're gonna try to get to good posture here. So if I go here to do my crunches, what kind of posture am I in? I am in this position to do crunches. You go, well, now I kind of shut down some of the work there. They're still going to get some work, but it's not going to work the deeper abdominals. It's not going to work the internal, external obliques as well. And so what I'm trying to do is, when I got the ball, is to open up my chest, bring my head back, and then do that squeeze from there. And it's not a big motion. All right, so I'm going to come here, and I'm going to come to there. And I'm really going for the pull on the ribs and squeezing my ribs just a little bit more towards my hips and back down. Right in there. And and oh my goodness, is that shaky. That is a very difficult thing. The lower I go on here, the easier it is. The farther back I go, the harder it is, up to the point where it's so far back that you fall on your head. All right, but I like a harder stability ball when you're doing this. The reason why is that stability ball is pushing into my back. It's actually making my back try to arch, and I got to use my abs more to stop it from arching. So a harder ball will do that a little bit more. So if you're new on it, maybe you want a softer ball. But if you add another level, it would be a harder ball that pushes you there more, and you have to brace harder. Important point on the stability ball crunch: don't do the crunch too high, because up here, I've really shut down most of that really good pull there. I only have the rectus abdominis going right now. And don't go too far out, because I go back here, I'm starting to rest my abdominals. They're taking a vacation right now, all right? And they only start engaging more when I come up to about even. All right, so you're going from even to up a little bit, even to up a little bit, and you will burn amazingly bad. All right, it's hard stuff, but it's good stuff. All right, so when you're working on the core, and you're working on any exercise really, get that posture set, because if you're doing a push-up with a good position, your head's not dropping in, your chest is out, your head is back, the abs come in more. If you're doing a squat, instead of being rounded through here, you're pushing the chest out, and you're sinking in there, now the core comes in a bit more. Definitely one-sided exercises are huge for that, where there's, it's a row, you're puffing the chest out, you're lengthening things out. Every exercise has great potential to become a core exercise, so you wouldn't need to add too many extra abdominal exercises to make a fantastic core. I think you could probably have a fantastic core without any core-specific exercises, but I do some because it's kind of fun. All right, so let me just check my notes here. That's a few good variations. A couple things on the floor. Let me just show you, I want to show you 2 exercises on the floor, just in case you don't have a stability ball, you don't have sliders. One of my favorites is the V-up. We use this one on occasion. I'm going to send this ball a little farther away. All right, so I'm laying down here. I bring the arms back behind, and it's the same principle as the stability ball crunch. As soon as I lift my legs, my back tries to arch, so I got to try to flatten it some. I don't need to flatten it all the way. It's okay if there's a tiny bit of arch in there, but I'm trying to flatten it some so I can really engage the lower abdominals and the obliques there. So I'm trying to pull the lower abdominals in. You train it from the quad position, now you try to apply it in other positions. So you start off with knees in more, and you try to do this small move. See if you really engage the core as you're doing it. Make sure it's not a waving of the arms, it's a squeeze from the core as you're doing that, and that's so much harder to do. To add the challenge, you can kick the legs out more, but as you kick the legs out more, the back is going to try to arch more, so watch out for that. Don't let the back arch more when you kick out. All right, so there's that one. The other one you can do is, especially if the head and neck have a tough time staying off the ground for a while, is you can do a heel tap and raise. You tap the heels, lift the legs up. Just start with a small move, tapping pretty close to your butt and lifting up, and really try to think about that lower abdominals you're pulling in. You're trying to capture that same feeling. If you need to, you put the hands up there so you can get that feel as the same as you were when you're on all fours there. Pulling in, and you're tapping, and you're trying to maintain that throughout. All right? So if you can work on some of your core that way, it's amazing. It's wonderful, and also it balances well. All right, so as I shoulders down, chest out, I have good posture while I'm doing all my exercises. It helps balance out the front of the core and the back of the core, because you want to be able to still include exercises that involve the upper back too, like the pointer or the back extensions on the stability ball. All right, so again, definitely you're not going to get that much time on the news to talk about these things, but that's a more full picture of training the core and some really good tips on it. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Again, if you want more specific help and advice and things like that, that's what we do professionally. You can hire us, and we'll work with you individually to make sure you get the positions right, you get dialed in on some of the stuff, and we do that in our classes, and we do that in one-on-one stuff. So give us a call. We'd love to help. All right, this is Jeremy, tall trainer, saying have fun, be safe, and God bless.